This is the first episode of Write Your Novel from Start to Finish. My name's Ken. This is Sassafras. She'll probably interrupt us every once in a while. I think what we should do in this first video is we should just sort of set a foundation for the actual process of writing, okay? When we go into the next video, we're going to talk about our protagonist and developing a protagonist or hero. But there's a couple of things I think that we should talk about right off the bat that I think will set you up for success, okay? So one of the things I want you to decide right away is I want you to decide whether to use Microsoft Word or Google Docs for your writing, okay? And the reason I want you to use one of those two is because Microsoft Word is pretty cheap at this point to begin with. Google Docs is free, which is great. It's really all you need, okay? I tend to use Google Docs as a starting point. And then when I actually am going into like writing, doing revisions and stuff, I definitely move over to Microsoft Word. And the reason I move over to Microsoft Word is because it has a really good editing function and it lets me track the changes, which is fantastic. And it also lets me make notes and like comments in the text itself, which I think is really helpful too. So those are some of the reasons why I think you should do it. And you don't need a writing program to write. I think that there are a lot of writing programs out there that help you keep track of like your notes, and they help you keep track of like plot, and they help like they have all these like extra functions. You don't really need any of them. And the reason you don't need any of them is because one, you can keep track of this stuff in a notebook. You know, you can keep track of this stuff with sticky notes, and you can put them up on your wall or do whatever you want. You'll notice like behind me in my office, like there's some ample space right here where I could like put sticky notes if I really wanted between my heavy metal posters and my bookcase. You know, I could totally do that if I really wanted to. So you don't need any of that. It's a waste of money, okay? Another big waste of money is writing books. Books teaching you about the craft of writing, books that promise you like, 12 steps to success when you're writing a novel and all this other stuff. You don't need any of those books, okay? I've been a professor of creative writing for 10 years now. I've evaluated hundreds of these books. I've read them, they've been sent to me, I've gone through them. I've picked up some at the dollar store, I've picked up some from half-price books. I've bought some wholesale at Barnes & Noble, which I never should have done, but they seemed interesting. And then when I started diving into them, I realized that by and large, these writing and craft books are kind of a waste of money. And the reason they're a waste of money is not because they don't contain useful information, but because when you're trying to write a novel, you really should just be focused on writing that novel. And when you have a bunch of craft books giving you like bombarding you with information, what happens ultimately is you lose sight of your main goal, which is to write the novel. It's hard to keep track of everything that's going on all the time, okay, in these books, because they have so much advice, right? So skip those, save your money, okay? You don't need them. I want you to fight the urge to set a daily goal for yourself, okay? For some people, this is really useful. For some people, this is really effective. But by and large, again, this is kind of like just setting yourself up for failure, okay? Because what happens if you don't meet your writing goal, your daily writing goal? You want to write 6 pages a day like Stephen King does, and you don't get that. What happens? You become depressed, right? You become upset with yourself. And then one day you reach it, right? And now you're excited. You get this temporary high, but then the next day you feel even more pressure to get those 6 pages done, right? Even though you have other things going on in your life, okay? So what I would recommend doing instead, and this is the way I approach it, is just get in the habit of writing when you have time, okay? When you have a half hour available to you and you can jump into your novel and write for a little bit, I think I think it's way better to be able to do that than to sit down and just force yourself to write at a specific time for a specific amount of time. Okay. The best way to approach this is think about your lunch break, or when you take a break on for lunch. This is pork chop, by the way. When you take a break for lunch, instead of scrolling through your phone, try instead to just write like one page. You know, get your creative juices flowing a little bit, write that one page, and then you can stop. This, by and large, is one of the biggest mistakes I think beginning writers make, is they set these goals and then they fail at the goals and they get discouraged and then they stop writing because they think that they're just not capable of doing it. And I got news for you. There are days where I don't write anything. There are days where I sit down with my coffee and I will literally get like one page done over the course of an hour because I get so distracted by Twitter and everything else that I just don't get more writing done, and I'm just not inspired. And I feel like there are places where I have to slog through a lot of stuff that takes a lot of time because it's not super well thought out in my head. And then there are other days where it's going to come really naturally and I'm going to get 5 or 6 or even 10 pages done on those particular days. And it all kind of evens out over time. As your writing starts to improve, you're going to see that this becomes easier and easier, and you're going to find yourself getting less and less discouraged. Okay. So the main takeaways here, as you're about to start writing your novel, pick either Microsoft Word or Google Docs. Throw away your writing books. Throw away any other distractions when it comes to anything you've read about how to write a novel. You're going to jump right into it, okay? And for the love of God, if you feel like you absolutely have to watch other YouTube videos promising you like one secret to writing a good novel, or 12 steps to writing a great novel, or one crucial element that every good book has, or how to write a best-selling novel, or whatever. All these videos that are promising you some sort of like fast track to success, try to get in the habit of avoiding those videos, because a lot of the advice they give you is pretty basic. A lot of the advice they give you is pretty obvious. And the more of that crowds your brain before you start writing, the harder it's going to be to get started, okay? So let's throw all of that aside, and instead, let's just work step by step over a series of videos to get you to where you want to be, which is literally to finish a novel. That's going to be the goal, okay? So skip everything else. Open up your Microsoft Word document, open up a new Google Doc, whatever you want to do here, and let's get started. In the next video, we're going to talk about the protagonist. And every time we talk about something specific in the comments below, I'll make sure I give you a bunch of resources that you can use to sort of flesh out whatever it is we're talking about so that you can be successful in the next step, okay? So look forward to doing this. I'm excited. I've got pork chop. I've got sassy. We're gonna go through this together. I'm gonna write a novel with you, and we're hopefully gonna have a little bit of fun.